Howdy folks, welcome back to Grumpy Viking Tactical. I am your host, Mighty Bjorn, and today for you, I am going to be doing a teardown on a 1911. I'm actually going to be doing two different teardowns. First, I'm going to do the standard field strip that everyone's aware of, and I'm going to end up having to use a wrench because unfortunately my Tisas Raider here is actually pretty new. I guess that's actually fortunate for me, but I do have carpal tunnel, so I do have issues with handling small parts and things of that nature. I kind of do have some issues with my hands. But I also do know of another teardown method where you really won't need this tool, and it's kind of a different method that I don't think a lot of people are very familiar with, and there's really not any tutorials online or even any mention about it really. So I'm going to do a teardown. I'm going to show you the standard method first, and then I'm going to reassemble this Tisas Raider, and then I'm going to reassemble. Now I want y'all to understand that this Tisas Raider here is a standard style 1911 with the USGI style short guide rod. So this is, pretty much a 1911 in 45 ACP as God intended. So first things first, we will eject the magazine, because that makes it easier to pull back the slide. I will show you, for the brevity of YouTube, that the gun is empty, and the chamber is empty. Okay, so now for this part, what you're going to do, and hopefully I'm giving you a good view, but essentially you're going to take your wrench, and I've actually found two different ways of doing this with how this wrench is designed. What you can do is you can take your wrench here, and you want to press down. You want to grip the gun tight, and you want to turn this to the right, and then you need to press down on this button on the plunger, turn that all the way to the right, and slowly pull that up and out, and then just put that off to the side. Okay, understand that this is under pressure. This will go shooting off like a rocket once you get that bushing turned out of the way. The next step is getting the slide lock out of the gun. So what you're going to do is move the slide back, and that there's two cutouts on the side of the slide. There is a larger cutout and a smaller cutout. And you're going to go to the smaller cutout, which is kind of a more rounded cutout. Go to the right side of the gun and press on this little knob. Now it's a little bit more pronounced on a typical 1911 than it is here on the Tisas Raider. And then you're going to pull out your slide lever, and then your slide will come off. Okay, now you're going to push your barrel in. You're going to pull out your guide rod and spring. Now you're going to go to the front. You're going to turn the bushing all the way as far as you can to the opposite side, which will be the left side of the slide, and pull that straight out. Now for the barrel, you see this little loop here. You're going to want to make sure that loop is down, and you're going to lift the back and push and pull that straight out. And then to reassemble the handgun, I'm going to do everything in reverse. So we'll start with putting the barrel in. We'll put in the guide rod and the spring. Now when it comes to putting the guide rod back in, you'll see that there's a cutout here that faces down towards the barrel. So guide rod like so, down towards the barrel. Well, I forgot to put the bushing back in, but that's fine. Put the bushing back in. Right now it's on the left side of the slide. I need to turn it to the right. I just got to kind of finagle it here. There we go, got that to the right. Now grab my frame. Now I got the trick here when reassembling is that loop has to line up in this hole, because this slide rod goes through this hole and that loop, and that's actually what holds the gun together. So that can be a tricky part. Sometimes what I do is I keep a little pin handy, or a paper clip, or a small Allen key. It is definitely being very stubborn when lining up for me right now. Give me just a second here, folks. See if it gets, okay, I got that. Now whatever you do, don't put this up against your frame. Don't put the slide lever against your frame and slide it up and push it in. That'll scratch the hell out of your frame. You're gonna want to set it up where it's straight and push it down in. So now I gotta try and get that re-lined up. Just got it lined up. Oh, and I accidentally pulled my slide all the way out, or slide lever. And this part can be a bit stubborn. There we go. Now comes the hard part, at least for me. Now I got to put this back on. Push this down, and actually what I find to do, the best way to do, is to take this end of the tool, and understand not all these are the same, but for this particular tool, what I find the best thing to do is take that end of the tool. Yeah, it's being stubborn. There we go. Come on. Push that down, line that up, and release. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the alternate way of tearing down a 1911. And this might take me a bit because this is tricky, especially because this is a brand new 1911 or pretty new. So, thumb through the trigger guard, hand around the slide, pull back on the slide. You're going to line up that notch and press on that slide release. which can be a little stubborn doing it this way, especially because it's a new handgun. Here, I'm going to release that. This can be really, when a 1911 is new, it can be really stubborn. Once you break these in, this is actually a really easy way of doing this. And actually, if you have the front slide serrations too, that does help a little bit, because the front slide serrations gives you a little bit more grip. There we go. Now I can pull out my slide lock. Slowly ease up the pressure on the slide itself. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to push the slide, and I'm going to keep my hand wrapped around the slide and the barrel, because the spring is under pressure, and essentially I am ripping everything out of the gun at once, and it is all under pressure. I didn't mean to do that, but now I have to go looking for my guide rod. So there you go. That's one way of doing it, but be careful not to lose your guide rod. At least I got to see where that went. I know exactly where that went, and hopefully that didn't put a dent in my drywall, because that went off like a bullet, folks. But there you go. That is one way of, an alternate way of tearing down your 1911. Just like I said, especially with the GI style guide rod, you got to be a bit more careful with that. I don't know if that works on the 1911s that's got the full length guide rods. I suspect yes, it does, but I'm not 100% sure. I just want to throw that out there. I don't own the 1911 I have with a full length guide rod. Has a completely different disassembly than a normal 1911 does. So it's, oh, that's to the right. I need to move this to the left to get the barrel out. Sometimes this bushing can be a little difficult. And there we go, folks. Now I have to go find a guide rod. But yeah, with the full length guide rods, I don't know if the disassembly will, if doing that disassembly will work. I suspect it will. It might be a little bit more difficult because of the full length guide rod. So if anyone out there knows that you can do it that way with a full-length guide rod, please comment down below. And actually, even if you knew you could disassemble a 1911 that way, I'd be interested in hearing about that, because it seemed like a way, it was a way I found out a while ago about disassembling a 1911, especially, like I said, with older 1911s that I've not really seen people even be aware of, to be honest. Like, it seemed like no one was really aware of it. Especially when you look around YouTube, no one seems to really be aware of disassembling a 1911 in that method, and maybe that's why maybe people don't do it that way. But no matter which way you look at it, you're risking one part or another going flying off into oblivion. So I guess it really doesn't matter which way you do it now, does it? Anyway, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video, and hopefully you all will tune in for my next video. Have yourself a wonderful day.